Are you a South African musician trying to figure out what is SAMRO and how it fits in with regards to your music? Welcome to this episode where I plan on demystifying just that. Cue the intro. What's up, it's your boy Skill from skillmusicsa.com and welcome to my channel where I share information with my fellow South African musicians to help them improve on their music business. If this sounds interesting to you, please do consider subscribing as I do have other videos I think you will find informative. In this video, I plan on demystifying and giving you more details with regards to what SAMRO is and how it pertains to you. Now, before I rush off, I have done several videos with regards to SAMRO, but I decided to make this video to give you more detail into what SAMRO is, how it fits in, so that you have one video to reference everything with regards to SAMRO. So without further ado, the very first question, what is SAMRO? SAMRO is a performance rights organization that is mandated in South Africa. So what does that even mean? Basically, whenever your song is being played in public, so think, let's say you're not in your room. Whenever you hear music outside of your room, basically your song is earning royalties. The royalty that pertains to SAMRO is called the performance royalty. Now, there are several types of royalties that you are entitled to when your music is being used, but SAMRO only focuses on the performance royalty. There are several entities everywhere in the world. So in America, they call it ASCAP or BMI. In Germany, they've got GEMA. But in South Africa, in the South African context, the PRO that's in charge there is SAMRO. Now, you might ask, do I have to register with all the other CMOs? Technically, no, because SAMRO is affiliated with all the major ones. So if your music is being played, say in the United States, and you have all the metadata in that song, they send it to SAMRO. SAMRO then sends it to you. Now, how much does this even cost, Skill, that I can register with SAMRO? SAMRO is technically free, so you don't have to pay a membership fee, but they do take a percentage off of the royalties that you get. Now, the percentage exact, I am not too sure, but that is how they generate money to run the performance rights organization that is SAMRO. You are technically not allowed to actually register in more than one PRO. So if you're registered with SAMRO, you cannot register with BMI and ASCAP, technically speaking. So who exactly can register with SAMRO? First of all, SAMRO, you can register if you are a composer or musician who writes composition. So what does this even mean? Basically, if you write lyrics, you can register with SAMRO. If you produce instrumentals, you can register with SAMRO. But if you are a cover artist and never perform songs that you wrote yourself, then you cannot register with SAMRO because you do not own the composition. So think of it like this. If you made a song from complete scratch with no other influence other than your mind, and then you made a song, then you can register with SAMRO. If you are covering or reinterpreting someone else's song, then the royalty does not have to do with SAMRO. It has to do with someone else. Let's move on. So why on earth did SAMRO come into being in the first place? So basically, imagine you are a radio station. You play music and that's how you make money. In general, you play music and advertisers come in. But now you want to use someone else's music, so you have to technically get a license. So instead of me having to go to Skill and saying, Skill, I need your song to use on my radio station, and then I'll have a million other artists where I have to do this, the industry decided, let's have a centralized system where I just pay this entity and this entity sorts out everything else. That's how SAMRO came. That's technically how SAMRO works. SAMRO gives a blanket license to these radio stations, TV stations, wherever your song is being played in public, and then these entities can use whatever song that is licensed under SAMRO or all the other PROs. Every year, they pay a license fee and can use all the music in that bracket. And that is exactly why when you submit your songs to radio, they ask for your SAMRO number, because they want to cover themselves and make sure that they have a license to use your music. So the SAMRO number is typically a membership number or a relation number. That is your SAMRO number. So how do you even register for SAMRO? The very old way is to download forms on the SAMRO website. I'll leave a link in the description below, and you fill out this form. You then send this form back to SAMRO, and then it takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks to get registered, and then you are a member, a prospective member of SAMRO. But due to unforeseen circumstances, sometimes there are issues with paperwork, and that's when you figure out that, hey, you haven't been registered yet because there were some things missing. So SAMRO moved on and has an online way of registering. I will leave a link in the description below where you can register with SAMRO online. I highly suggest you using the online registration as it makes things a lot simpler for you as a musician. So just to recap how long it takes to get registered. To fill out the forms is actually not a long thing. I actually have a video that I did in 15 minutes, and the forms take approximately 40 minutes if you want to write down, scan, etc. And then once you've sent your forms and SAMRO has confirmed that they have received your forms and are processing your forms, it takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks to get registered. But due to unforeseen circumstances, particularly now with all sorts of things, this might take a little longer than expected. So I highly suggest after week 4, you choose a day of the week, say Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, where you follow up with SAMRO. This means you email back and say, yo, have you received my forms? Or you call the customer service line and try get clarity if there are any issues with your registration. Alternatively, use Twitter to tweet at them to see if you can get any feedback with regards to your registration process. So once you've submitted the forms for SAMRO, you have to follow up. After you have followed up, make sure you keep on doing it until you get your SAMRO relation number. So eventually you get your relation number. What do you do next, Gil? I'm registered, but I don't really know what to do. The basic thing is every time you create a song, not a cover, a song where you create the composition or write the lyrics, you have to register the song with SAMRO. That will always be part of the mandate. If you do not register the song, the royalties won't make the way back to you. So how do you register? What is it called? Basically, it's called notification of works. So you notify SAMRO of the works. How do you do this? Typically, once you've got your relation number from SAMRO, you use that to register on the online portal. Once you've registered with the online portal, you notify SAMRO of your works. Now, I've left the link in the bio to tell you and show you how to notify your works with SAMRO. That's what you do every time you release, preferably just before you release. So how does it end up that sometimes money doesn't make it to direct artists? So let's say your song is played on radio and you haven't notified SAMRO. So the radio station sends that information to SAMRO saying, okay, SAMRO, we played a song by Skill, and this is how much we played it. This is how much money he deserves. Hypothetically speaking, they actually calculate it out. And then they say, okay, we can't actually give it to Skill because Skill hasn't told us who the composers are, who gets certain percentage of the royalties, and we can't really just give him all of the money. So we're just going to wait for Skill to tell us who is involved in the creation of the song. And that's when the money actually gets stuck in basically what they call limbo, and SAMRO will keep that money for 3 to 5 years. It's changing to 3, it's currently 5, but if you do not send SAMRO notification of works, that money gets distributed to SAMRO's member in the terms of percentage. So if you're already registered with SAMRO like I am and already a member, then I get a percentage of your royalties, and it's basically whoever gets the most royalties in that year gets the biggest share of whatever black box money that you are entitled to. So how do you actually start earning money from SAMRO? Basically, you have to break 100 Rand threshold in terms of performance royalties. So how do you go about doing this? You have to get your music used by people that use music or entities that use music in public. So think about whenever you are outside your room and you're hearing music, you are basically hearing someone earning performance royalties. So this means TV. This means going to a grocery store and you're hearing it on the radio there. This means when you're shopping for clothes at Pick and Pay, for example, their song is being played there. That's a performance royalty. Radio, whenever you're hearing someone performing live and there are people watching, that's also where that performance royalties are generated. A lot of people don't know that you generate royalties when you're performing live, and that's where notification of performance comes in. Basically, you tell SAMRO, I performed live over here, and SAMRO checks if the venue or the event has a performance license. If they do have a license, then you get a percentage of those royalties from that license. Basically, if you spent 100% of their time, you get 100% of the license royalties. That's roughly how it works. And then there are the miscellaneous questions that I get all the time with regards to SAMRO. The first one is, how do you register a group with SAMRO? You do not actually register as a group with SAMRO. You register individually with SAMRO. The reason is because sometimes the splits are not the same, or sometimes an individual is not featured in terms of performance royalties in this particular song. This happens, for example, if you think of the Migos. Sometimes one of the artists is not there, but they still push the song as the Migos. That is particularly why they decided to run it like this. So you do not register the group, you register as an individual. Another question that I get quite often is, how do I register if I'm below 18? Well, first of all, you have to have your ID, so you technically have to be between 16 and 18, and then you get your ID, and then when you sign on the forms, you have to get your guardian, legal guardian, to sign off, because technically you're giving some legal authority to SAMRO to start collecting on your behalf. So you under 18 don't have the right to give away legal, because they say you're too young. So your father, mother, legal guardian has to sign over on your behalf. Do not use your dad's details, because technically your dad owns all the performance royalties. Another question I get quite often is, when will I start seeing royalties? Basically, if your song is playing this year, you're only going to see it next year. That's how the system works. It's a fairly big, complex system, so it takes roughly 1 to 2 years to get royalties from when they were being used all the way through the SAMRO system and all the way back to you. This is all across the world. This is just you can call it a standard, but not really, but that's how it works. It takes a year to get your royalties, and you are typically given royalties according to a distribution schedule. This distribution schedule tells you what royalties to get, when you will be getting them. So SAMRO has a way on their website to show you the distribution schedule. If you're not officially a member yet, then you'll have to wait until you break the 100 Rand threshold. But once you do, SAMRO sends you an email asking you to confirm your banking details. If you've never confirmed your banking details yet, you have most likely not broken the 100 Rand threshold. Once you do, they ask you to confirm your banking details, and then they send you over your royalties in the next distribution schedule. So typically you look at March. Every quarter there is some form of royalty being played out depending on where it is, but I'll leave a link in the description below showing you exactly how to find the distribution schedule. Once you've started generating these royalties, a month afterwards, typically SAMRO will also send you a distribution statement where it breaks down exactly what royalties you got and where you got it from. Now, you can double check these figures by monitoring things or organizations using your music. Typically, radio is where most people are trying to target, and there are several services that you can use to monitor radio play. I personally use Warm Music to monitor my music, but if you're having issues with rands and dollars, etc., contact me and I can help you track your radio music through a service that I provide myself. But the way you want to double check your royalty statements, especially if you're getting lots and lots of radio play, then you want to track your radio play, and then you correlate the usage on your royalty statement with the usage on radio. And if they speak to each other, good, you're getting paid everything you owed. If there's a discrepancy, you contact SAMRO back and tell them, I have an issue, I've monitored the radio play and here's the distribution statement. Why are they not speaking? That is basically it. But To conclude this video, SAMRO is not actually a complicated process. What it actually means is register with SAMRO as an individual, make sure you're getting your music played in public by several means, and then monitor your plays. Eventually, you should break the 100 Rand threshold. That concludes this video for now, and I hope you found it informative. I tried to give a lot of detail because I get a lot of questions that are fairly repetitive, so I decided to make one video where I could direct everyone to. But I hope you found this video informative, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, as I do have other videos I think you will find informative. I'd also like to remind you that I have a digital course titled Understanding Music Publishing, where I break down SAMRO, SAMPRA, Capasso, and RISA, and I tell you exactly how these organizations fit in order to try maximize the amount of money you can get from one song. The course is only 100 Rand, and I'll leave a link to the course in the description below. If you do not have access to PayPal, you can contact me and I'll give you direct directions on how to go about accessing this course through an EFT or another preferred way you prefer to pay for the course. But that concludes this video, and until next time, Skilligan the Hooligan signing.